Imagine this for a moment. You're holding your phone, staring at this video, watching an image of me speaking. Yet, in truth, nothing is really moving here. What you're seeing is a rapid sequence of still frames, 30 static images, flashing before your eyes every second. Your brain, ever the clever interpreter, transforms these frozen instants into motion, emotion, meaning. And so we begin with a paradox. You live in a world that seems continuous, yet it's stitched together from countless discrete moments. Just as your favorite film isn't really moving, but your mind makes it move, perhaps the universe itself isn't continuous either. Perhaps what we perceive as flowing time and solid matter are illusions of resolution, the limits of a cosmic projector operating at scales our senses cannot grasp. Now, that might sound poetic, but the universe doesn't care about poetry, it cares about physics. And physics, for all its equations and experiments, has been whispering something profoundly unsettling for decades. Reality may not be what it seems. Let's step back. For most of human history, we believed what we could touch was real. The rock was solid, the sky was far, and we were at the center of it all. Then came Copernicus, a man with a telescope and a dangerous idea. Maybe the Earth wasn't the stage, but just one actor in a vast cosmic play. That was the first blow to human certainty. Then Newton arrived, wielding mathematics like a divine instrument, revealing that motion, force, and gravity obeyed laws predictable, elegant, and universal. For a time, it felt as if we had the cosmic script in hand. But just as we began to feel comfortable in this mechanical universe, Einstein stepped forward and said, "Not so fast. Time and space," he told us, "are not rigid. They bend, stretch, and warp under the influence of mass and energy." The universe wasn't a clockwork machine. After all, it was a living fabric, and we were caught in its weave. Then came quantum mechanics, the troublemaker of modern science. And suddenly, the ground beneath reality began to tremble again. Quantum mechanics told us that particles aren't really particles. They're waves, clouds of probability, existing in multiple places at once until observed. It told us that what we call solid matter is mostly empty space, held together by invisible fields. And it dared to whisper a question that still haunts physicists to this day. What if reality itself depends on being observed? Now, to an ancient philosopher, that might sound like old news. The Greeks, after all, pondered whether the tree that falls in a forest makes a sound if no one is there to hear it. But to modern physics, this wasn't metaphor, it was data. So here we are, centuries later, armed with particle accelerators and quantum equations, only to rediscover an ancient doubt that the universe may not exist independently of perception. It's as if we've circled back to the beginning, but now with instruments that can measure the illusion. Here's where things get interesting and perhaps unsettling. In the 1990 seconds, physicists studying black holes stumbled upon something extraordinary. When you drop matter into a black hole, it disappears from view, but its information, the quantum description of what it once was, doesn't seem to vanish. Instead, it appears to be encoded on the black hole's surface, as if everything that fell in is projected onto a two-dimensional boundary. Think about that. If you could read the surface of a black hole, like a cosmic DVD, you could reconstruct everything that ever crossed its event horizon. This discovery gave rise to one of the most radical ideas in modern science, the holographic principle, the notion that our entire universe might be a projection of information encoded on a distant cosmic boundary. It doesn't mean we're fake or that we're living in a computer simulation. It means that, at the most fundamental level, reality might be information, not material. That the three-dimensional world we experience could be the shadow of a deeper two-dimensional code, much like the hologram on your credit card holds a three-dimensional image within a flat surface. If this sounds like science fiction, consider this. Every time you stream a movie, what reaches your eyes isn't the film itself, it's a reconstruction, an illusion built from bits of information. Your screen projects photons, your brain decodes them, and you experience reality. In the same way, the universe might be projecting itself not through pixels of light, but through quanta of information. Every atom, every star, every heartbeat could be part of a vast data structure written into the fabric of space-time itself. And that perhaps is the most humbling revelation of all. Because if everything matter, energy, even consciousness arises from encoded information, then the boundary between you and the universe begins to blur. You're not just in the universe. You are the universe aware of itself. Pause on that thought. We humans spend our lives chasing meaning, searching for patterns, building stories to make sense of chaos. Yet the cosmos has been doing that long before we arrived, evolving complexity from simplicity, order from randomness, consciousness from chemistry. We are, in a very literal sense, the cosmos observing its own illusion. From the fusion furnaces of stars came the atoms that built your body. From the death of those stars came the carbon that forms your cells, the calcium that strengthens your bones, the iron that carries oxygen through your blood. You are made of stardust, but more importantly, you are made of patterns. Patterns that the universe has been refining for billions of years. But here's the paradox we began with. In this age of astonishing knowledge, where we can peer into black holes and decode the genome of life, humans have never been more confused about what's real. We scroll through digital feeds that blur truth and illusion, live in echo chambers of information, and chase simulated versions of success, happiness, and even love. We're surrounded by data, yet starved for wisdom. We're more connected than ever, yet lonelier than ever before. We can map the curvature of space-time, but we struggle to navigate the curvature of our own hearts. Maybe, in trying to understand the cosmos, we forgot to understand ourselves. So let's ask the question again, but this time, more personally, if the universe is a hologram, what are you? Are you a projection of information, a temporary arrangement of atoms destined to fade? Or are you the decoder, the consciousness that gives meaning to the projection? Because here's what the science suggests. The universe may not distinguish between the two. You see, every hologram shares a remarkable property. Cut it into 1,000 pieces, and each fragment still contains the whole image. Not in perfect clarity, but the essence remains. In the same way, every human being, every conscious mind, may hold within it the signature of the entire cosmos. The same laws of physics that govern galaxies govern your neurons. The same quantum uncertainty that allows stars to form allows you to imagine, to hope, to dream. You are not separate from the fabric of reality. You are the fabric folded in human form. And yet, we so easily forget this. We build walls of nation, of race, of ideology, and pretend that the cosmic web doesn't connect us all. We pollute the air, the oceans, the soil, forgetting that these are not resources, they are our extended organs. We treat information as a weapon when it was always meant to be the code that unites. So maybe the true illusion isn't that the universe is a hologram. Maybe the illusion is that we are separate from it. When astronauts gaze back at Earth from orbit, they often describe something called the overview effect, a sudden, irreversible realization of unity. From that vantage point, there are no borders, no divisions, no us versus them. There is only one planet, fragile and glowing in the dark. They see what the rest of us cannot. That the line between illusion and truth isn't drawn in the stars, it's drawn in the mind. And perhaps that's where our journey must begin, not with new telescopes or faster computers, but with deeper awareness. Because to understand whether we're living in a hologram isn't just to ask about physics, it's to ask about perception, empathy, and meaning. If the universe is an illusion, then who built it? That question sounds almost theological, doesn't it? But I don't mean it in a spiritual or mythic sense. I mean it in the scientific one as a question about structure, about architecture. Because even if reality is a projection, it's a remarkably consistent one. The stars still rise, the laws of physics still hold, your heart still beats in rhythm with the pulse of time. Illusion or not, this universe is exquisitely organized. So let's ask, what is it organized by? At the foundation of everything you see, every planet, every photon, every breath you take lies a mathematical code. We call it the laws of physics, but they could just as well be called the syntax of the cosmos, the grammar that allows existence to speak. Take something as ordinary as light. It travels at exactly 299,792 kilometers per second, no more, no less. That number is constant everywhere in the universe. You could travel to the farthest galaxy, and the speed of light would still define how information flows, how causality unfolds, how space and time dance. It's as if the cosmos operates under a universal speed limit, a safeguard woven into its design to ensure consistency, coherence, and perhaps comprehension. But here's what's even more remarkable. Everything you've ever seen, felt, or known is built from just a handful of elementary particles. And those particles are governed by mathematical relationships that fit neatly into equations written on a blackboard. Quarks, leptons, bosons, the cast of characters in this cosmic play, interact through forces described by symmetries, those elegant reflections of balance that mathematicians love and the universe seems to adore. So yes, reality might be a projection, but it's a projection with rules, and those rules are beautifully consistent. Now, some might ask, why does the universe have laws at all? Why not chaos? That question haunted Einstein, who once said, the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. Think about that. In a random, meaningless universe, we should expect nonsense unpredictability at every turn. And yet, here we are, able to describe cosmic evolution, predict eclipses, and design machines that land on comets billions of miles away. It's as if the universe wants to be understood, or maybe understanding itself is part of the projection part of how the hologram experiences itself. Quantum physics adds a fascinating twist to this story. When we observe the microscopic world, we find that particles behave like waves, smeared across space, undefined until measured. They exist in a superposition of possibilities, and only when observed do they collapse into a definite state. It's as though the universe refuses to commit to a single version of reality until consciousness enters the scene. Now, most physicists will tell you this isn't magic, it's just probability mathematics doing its job. But still, one can't help but wonder, why does observation matter? Why does measurement, the act of awareness, seem to alter the outcome? This has led to some of the boldest interpretations in science, that consciousness and reality are not separate entities, but two aspects of the same process. In other words, the observer is not outside the hologram. The observer is part of the code that makes the hologram real. Consider this analogy. When you play a video game, the digital world doesn't fully exist until you look at it. The moment you turn the camera in a new direction, the game's processor renders that portion of the landscape, generating mountains, rivers, and skies on the fly. Why? Because it would be inefficient to render the entire world at once. The system generates only what the player perceives. Could our universe operate in a similar way? Not as a computer simulation, but as a quantum economy of reality revealing just enough of itself to sustain conscious experience? If that's true, then the universe might be the ultimate act of efficient awareness. But let's step back from the metaphors and look at the evidence. Every physical process we know, from the orbit of planets to the flicker of neurons, can be described by information exchange. Energy moves, matter interacts, entropy evolves. In every case, information is being transferred, stored, or transformed. In fact, physicists like John Wheeler, who coined the phrase "it from bit," propose that information is the most fundamental building block of reality. Not matter, not energy, but bits, yes or no questions, binary distinctions that form the language of existence. If Wheeler is right, then everything from galaxies to thoughts emerges from informational interactions. The universe computes itself continuously through every quantum event, every photon exchange, every neural impulse in your brain. We don't live in the universe, we live through it as processes within a cosmic algorithm that's constantly updating. Now, before that sounds too abstract, let's make it human again. When you fall in love, what's really happening? On one level, it's chemistry, neurotransmitters and hormones, oxytocin and dopamine. On another, it's information exchange signals between neurons, patterns of memory, electrical activity interpreted as emotion. But the beauty lies in the fact that these informational patterns, while physical, mean something. They create experiences, moments of tenderness, fear, joy, connection. That's the strange miracle of being human. Our biology converts the cold logic of information into the warmth of meaning. If the universe is a hologram, then meaning might be its greatest illusion and its greatest truth. Let's imagine for a moment that the holographic principle is more than a theory. Imagine that our universe, this vast, expanding, incomprehensible cosmos, is like a movie projected from the edge of reality. Somewhere, on a distant cosmic horizon, lies a two-dimensional surface encoding all the information that makes up everything we know. Every particle in your body, every photon from the sun, every atom and every star, all of it written in that grand, invisible code. And yet, from within, we experience it as depth, time, texture, and emotion. It's not that we're trapped in a simulation, it's that we are participants in an unfolding illusion so elegant it feels real. Now, pause and ask, why would the universe do this? Maybe because reality isn't a static thing to observe, it's a dynamic process to experience. Maybe existence isn't about what is, but about what becomes when awareness interacts with possibility. And maybe that's why the universe built brains, these extraordinary pattern-seeking engines capable of self-reflection, so it could look inward and ask the very question you're hearing now, what am I? The atoms in your body once belonged to stars. The carbon in your cells was forged in stellar furnaces. The calcium in your bones was born in the death of suns. But those atoms don't know they're you. They follow the laws of physics, nothing more. So where does you begin? Somewhere along the evolutionary timeline, complexity reached a tipping point. Molecules formed cells. Cells formed networks. Networks formed minds. And those minds began to dream, to wonder, to ask questions about themselves. You are the universe achieving self-awareness, not metaphorically, but literally. The same matter that once burned in stars now contemplates its own existence through you. If that isn't a miracle, a scientific, quantifiable miracle, I don't know what is. And so the hologram becomes more than a metaphor, it becomes a mirror. Because every time you look at the stars, you are looking at your own origins. Every time you seek understanding, you are decoding the information that made you. The illusion isn't meant to deceive. It's meant to awaken you to the fact that awareness itself is the fifth dimension, the unseen axis through which the universe perceives itself. We tend to think of dimensions as space and time, length, width, height, duration. But consciousness awareness might be the fifth, the dimension that gives context to the others, that allows the universe not just to exist, but to mean something. And perhaps that's why we're here. Not to escape the illusion, but to make it beautiful. There's something uniquely strange about being human. We can look up at the night sky, see light that's traveled billions of years, and realize that it was always destined to reach us, not in some mystical sense, but in the quiet inevitability of physics. The same photons that left a star before Earth even existed now enter your eyes, trigger a chemical reaction in your retina, and become an image in your mind. In that moment, you are both observer and participant in an ancient cosmic dialogue. You, a self-aware arrangement of atoms, are decoding messages from the beginning of time. That is, consciousness in its purest form, the universe observing itself and understanding that it exists. Consciousness is often treated as an unsolved mystery, and rightly so. We can map the brain, trace neural pathways, even predict behavior. But no one has yet found the place where experience itself resides. Where exactly does awareness live? If I show you an image of a red rose, certain neurons in your visual cortex will fire. Scientists can even tell which neurons correspond to color, shape, and memory. But no experiment can yet pinpoint the feeling of redness, that inner glow, that personal experience of perception, that gap between data and experience, between firing neurons and the warmth of awareness, is what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. And perhaps it's the key to understanding the fifth dimension. Let's imagine for a moment that space and time are like a vast stage, the setting upon which all events unfold. Then consciousness would be the light that reveals what's happening on that stage. Without it, the universe would still exist, but it would be dark, silent, unexperienced. Stars would still burn, but no one would see them. Galaxies would still spin, but no one would know. Time would still pass, but nothing would feel it. Awareness doesn't change the play, it makes the play mean something. And meaning, in any form, is the most precious currency the universe has ever created. Now, what if consciousness isn't an accident, but an emergent property of complexity, a natural consequence of the universe growing aware of its own structure? From simplicity comes order. From order, complexity. From complexity, awareness. This is not mysticism, it's evolution not just of biology, but of information. In the earliest moments of the universe, there was only chaos, energy, and matter, scattering in all directions. But over time, structure emerged. Atoms formed, stars ignited, galaxies spiraled, planets coalesced, and life began. Each step added new layers of organization, new ways for the cosmos to process information. And eventually, on one small planet orbiting an ordinary star, the universe discovered a way to look back at itself and wonder, what am I? That question, that moment of self-reflection, is the birth of consciousness. It's the cosmos realizing that it can think of the universe as a grand, unfolding computation. Each particle interaction, each quantum fluctuation, each neuron firing, all of it part of a vast informational process, updating reality with every passing moment. In this view, consciousness isn't separate from the universe, it's the latest expression of it. And perhaps the fifth dimension is not something out there in space, but something within a dimension of awareness that connects all layers of existence, from the smallest quark to the grandest galaxy. We don't look into the fifth dimension, we are it. Now, imagine if every conscious being, every human, every sentient creature were like a node in this vast web of awareness. Each of us perceives a fragment of reality, interprets it, and feeds it back into the collective understanding of the whole. When you learn something, the universe becomes smarter. When you love someone, the universe becomes more connected. When you destroy or deceive, the universe becomes more fragmented. Every thought, every action, every choice is a line of code written into the hologram. And that means terrifyingly, beautifully, that responsibility is cosmic. Think of how delicately everything depends on everything else. The oxygen you breathe was once inside ancient trees. The water you drink is older than the continents. The iron in your blood was forged in stars that died before our sun was born. The illusion of separateness is the greatest misunderstanding in human history. Because in reality, in the deep physical sense, there is no separation. There's only one fabric, one system, one self-aware universe expressing itself in infinite forms. You, me, the stars, we are not parts of the cosmos. We are the cosmos, conscious of itself for a brief and precious moment in time. And yet, look around. Our species, the first to understand its cosmic origin, still wages wars over invisible borders. We burn the resources of a planet that is, in every sense, our only home. We create tools powerful enough to reshape the biosphere, yet often use them to amplify division rather than harmony. If the universe has given us awareness, and we use that awareness to destroy the very system that birthed us, then we are, quite literally, collapsing the hologram from within. Awareness without responsibility is entropy. It leads not to evolution, but to fragmentation. So, what is responsibility in a cosmic sense? It's not about morality as law, it's about awareness as integration. To be responsible is to recognize the truth of your connection to all things. It's to realize that when you harm another, you are harming yourself, not metaphorically, but physically. Because you and the other are made of the same cosmic material, bound by the same physical laws, participating in the same holographic field. It's to understand that every choice you make, from how you treat others to how you treat the planet, echoes through the informational web of existence. Responsibility is awareness made active. Now, take a moment to think of your own life. The people you've loved, the mistakes you've made, the moments that have shaped you. Each of those moments is a pixel in the great hologram. Each emotion, each memory, each act of kindness, a tiny piece of data written into the code of the cosmos. You might feel small, insignificant, like one person among billions. But remember, in a hologram, Every fragment contains the whole image. You are not a small part of the universe trying to make sense of it. You are the entire universe, temporarily condensed into a human form, learning, feeling, evolving, remembering what it means to be whole. And perhaps that's the secret hidden within this cosmic illusion, that the purpose of awareness is not to escape reality, but to illuminate it, to live consciously, to act compassionately, to use our brief flicker of existence to make the hologram more coherent, more beautiful than it was before we arrived. Because maybe the ultimate truth isn't whether the universe is real or an illusion. Maybe the truth is that it becomes real through the way we live within it. Every generation has its frontier. For our ancestors, it was the edge of the map, a horizon of uncharted seas and unknown lands. For us, the frontier is not distance, it is understanding. We have mapped the continents, photographed the surface of Mars, listened to the echoes of the Big Bang. And yet, the greatest territory left unexplored lies not beyond the stars, but within the mind that gazes at them. When the first astronauts left Earth and saw our planet as a single glowing sphere suspended in darkness, something shifted in human consciousness. That image, the blue marble, did what no border treaty, no speech, no religion had ever achieved. It made us see ourselves as one. That moment was the birth of planetary awareness. It was as if, for the first time, the universe looked back at itself and whispered, "I understand." But then we came home. We returned to traffic, politics, noise, the smallness of daily life. And somewhere along the way, that cosmic perspective began to fade. The awakening, it seems, must happen again this time, not from a rocket's window, but from the inside out. We live in an age of extraordinary power. Our species can split atoms, edit genes, simulate universes on computers the size of a fingernail. We command energies that once belonged only to stars. But with that power comes a paradox. We can now destroy ourselves faster than evolution can repair us. The next great frontier, then, is not technological, it's ethical. It's about learning to match the scope of our wisdom to the scale of our power. Because cosmic awareness without compassion is just a higher form of ignorance. Look at our planet from afar. Its delicate atmosphere, thin as a contact lens on the surface of an eye. That's all that separates life from lifelessness. Every breath you've ever taken, every storm, every heartbeat depends on that fragile film. And yet, we behave as though it were infinite. We burn, we dig, we consume, forgetting that the Earth is not a warehouse, it's a womb. A single self-regulating organism of oceans and air, soil and spirit, balancing itself on the edge of thermodynamic equilibrium. To harm it is to wound ourselves. To protect it is to preserve the only mirror through which the cosmos can still recognize its own reflection. The space race once measured who could go higher, faster, farther. The next race will measure who can go deeper into understanding, cooperation, empathy. It won't be won by a nation. It will be won by a species that finally learns how to live as one organism, conscious of its place in the vast cosmic web. The new explorers won't wear spacesuits. They'll wear curiosity. Their rockets will be ideas. Their destination. A civilization that has learned to align its survival with the survival of its planet. Science can take us to the stars, but only awareness can tell us why we should go. Because exploring the universe without understanding ourselves is like building a telescope without a lens. It shows everything, but focuses nothing. The awakening of our time is the realization that knowledge alone is not enough. What matters is how that knowledge is used and to what end. Do we build machines that amplify greed or systems that amplify grace? Do we design algorithms that divide or ones that connect? Do we let the hologram fragment into competing illusions, or do we restore its coherence? These are not questions for philosophers in ivory towers. They are the daily choices of a species, writing its own code in real time. When I look at the night sky, I often think about time. Every star you see is a message from the past. The light of Sirius left when humans were first learning to farm. The glow of Andromeda began its journey before our species existed at all. And yet, that light arrives now in this moment so that you can see it. It's a reminder that in a universe so vast, everything that exists together. Even across billions of years, we are bound by the same physics, the same light, the same yearning to understand. Maybe that's the meaning hidden within the hologram. That awareness is not a gift to humanity, it's a responsibility of humanity. To wake up is to realize that every act of ignorance distorts the projection. Every act of understanding brings it into focus. The choice has always been ours to live as random data points or as coherent light. So the next step of evolution will not be biological. It will be ethical, emotional, and intellectual, a leap from self-interest to self-awareness on a planetary scale. The first creature to crawl onto land changed the Earth forever. The first species to become conscious of the cosmos will change the universe just as profoundly if it survives long enough to learn how. Because once we awaken to our cosmic nature, the real adventure begins. Not the conquest of space, but the cultivation of wisdom. And wisdom, unlike knowledge, cannot be downloaded or taught. It must be lived. It grows from empathy, from curiosity, from the courage to look honestly at our illusions and choose something better. Perhaps that is the true purpose of this holographic universe. To create beings capable of recognizing the illusion and then choosing to turn it into something real through love, through art, through science, through kindness. Every dawn is a rehearsal for eternity. Each sunrise reminds us that light does not conquer darkness by force. It reveals that the darkness was never truly solid to begin with. That's the role of awareness. It turns the unknowable into the known, the invisible into the visible. For most of history, we thought the stars were lanterns hung above us by the gods. Then we learned they were suns, each with their own worlds, their own possibilities. Now we know that we are made of the same atoms that burn in those distant furnaces. The universe has been trying to tell us the same story in every language it knows. You belong. You are connected. You matter. Our ancestors looked up at the Milky Way and saw a river of souls. Tonight, a child somewhere will look up and see a future. The river hasn't changed only our understanding of what it means to flow within it. We have spent centuries mapping the cosmos. Now the cosmos asks us to map ourselves to chart a civilization worthy of the knowledge it possesses. Because what good is it to reach other planets if we cannot learn to share this one? What good is discovering the laws of gravity if we never master the laws of kindness? In every era, humanity has faced a test disguised as an opportunity. Fire gave us warmth and war. Electricity gave us progress and pollution. Digital technology gave us connection and confusion. The test of our age is not whether we can build smarter machines, but whether we can become a wiser species. We can fill our skies with satellites that encircle the planet, but the real orbit that matters is the one that links heart to heart, mind to mind. That orbit is fragile. It depends on empathy, on the willingness to see each other not as strangers, but as fellow expressions of the same cosmic equation. If reality is a hologram, then every act of compassion sharpens the image. Every lie, every cruelty, every act of indifference blurs it. The clarity of the universe depends on the clarity of its observers. And that means you. It means every scientist hunched over a telescope, every artist painting light into meaning, every teacher kindling curiosity in a young mind. You are the custodians of coherence, the guardians of a universe that wants, above all, to be understood. When we send probes beyond the solar system, we attach a message, a golden record, a whisper of music and greetings from Earth. We do this not because we expect an answer, but because we hope for one. That hope is the fingerprint of consciousness, the proof that even in a vast, indifferent cosmos, life dares to care. Maybe the real purpose of exploring the universe is to remind ourselves that caring is possible, that in a sea of silence, we can still choose to sing. So where do we go from here? We go forward with humility. We go upward with curiosity. We go inward with awareness, because the frontiers no longer line on a map, it's a state of mind. And maybe just maybe, when we finally learn to see the universe not as a stage set for human drama, but as a living network of meaning, the hologram will reveal something new, a dimension we created ourselves through understanding. The cosmos does not owe us purpose. It offers us possibility. Purpose is what we give back. Every time we act with wonder instead of fear, with reason instead of hate, the projection sharpens, the illusion thins, and the truth beneath it, all the unity of existence, comes into focus. Perhaps that's what it means to be alive in this particular corner of time, to become the light that the universe uses to see itself a little more clearly. We began with a paradox, that everything we call real may be an illusion, that the solid world we touch and trust could be the echo of a deeper truth, projected through the mathematics of space-time. And now, after wandering through galaxies of thought and fields of information, we arrive where all explorers do back home, with new eyes. Because the purpose of exploration has never been simply to escape, it has always been to return transformed. The more we learn about the universe, the more it resembles the mind that's learning about it. Both are structured by patterns, shaped by uncertainty, and illuminated by curiosity. Both are born from chaos and strive for coherence. Both are, in their own ways, self-reflective. Maybe that is the real answer to the hologram. The universe is not pretending to be real, it is learning to be real through us. Every act of observation, every experiment, every poem, every question, that's the cosmos refining its own image, pixel by pixel, photon by photon. Look again at that pale blue dot, suspended in darkness. There it is, the only world where the illusion becomes experience, where equations learn to feel. That tiny sphere holds the total archive of meaning, every joy, every tragedy, every heartbeat that ever was. From this distance, borders vanish, ideologies dissolve, and what remains is the simple geometry of shared existence. A single planet, wrapped in light, orbiting an ordinary star, thinking extraordinary thoughts. That's us. That's home. We used to believe that our significance came from being at the center of everything. Now we know our significance comes from being connected to everything. We are not cosmic royalty, we are cosmic responsibility. For the first time in 4.5 billion years, life on Earth can decide what it becomes. Whether we burn our inheritance in anger or invest it in wonder, whether we see the universe as a resource to exploit or a relationship to honor. The universe has given us consciousness. The question is what we will give in return. Perhaps the greatest illusion of all is the belief that we are separate observers, looking at reality from the outside. We are not outside anything. We are inside the very process of existence, an event still unfolding, still learning, still becoming aware. You are a way for the cosmos to look at itself and say, so this is what I can be. And that realization changes everything. Because once you see the unity beneath the illusion, cruelty becomes confusion, compassion becomes clarity, and love becomes physics, the simple attraction of coherence in a universe that longs to understand itself. One day, our descendants will look back on us the way we look at the first cells that learned to cooperate. They'll see that awareness was our evolutionary leap, that the next step after intelligence was understanding. They'll inherit a world where technology and empathy no longer compete, where science is not a weapon, but a language of belonging. And when they gaze into the sky, they won't ask, "Are we alone?" They'll ask, "How far has the universe come in knowing itself?" The stars will continue to burn. Galaxies will continue to drift apart. Time will continue its slow expansion. But somewhere, in the brief shimmer of human consciousness, the cosmos will have experienced something unprecedented. Meaning is not written into the laws of physics. It is written through the choices of beings who can love, imagine, and care. In that sense, every act of kindness, every pursuit of truth, every whisper of beauty, those are not small things. They are the universe practicing self-awareness. So, are we living in a hologram? Maybe the better question is, what kind of hologram are we creating? Because reality is not a script we're trapped in, it's a story we're still writing. Every decision redraws the projection. Every insight sharpens the image. When you look at the night sky, remember, the light you see is ancient, but what it touches you is new. And in that meeting of the old and the new, illusion becomes revelation. The cosmos looks at itself through human eyes and finally understands the paradox it has been performing for 13.8 billion years, that in pretending to be many, it was always one. So tonight, as you close your eyes and drift into that private universe behind your eyelids, remember, you are not small. You are not separate. You are the living surface of a vast cosmic hologram, a fragment that still contains the whole, a single consciousness through which the universe, for a fleeting moment, becomes aware that it exists. And that, more than any equation or telescope or theory, is the greatest discovery of all. Somewhere, right now, a child is looking up at the night sky for the first time. The stars do not look back, but they do respond in the spark of wonder that appears in the child's eyes. That spark is how the universe renews itself. Awareness is not a finish line. It's a beginning the moment you realize that every thought, every breath, every act of kindness ripples outward into the fabric of reality. You don't have to travel to other worlds to be part of the cosmic story. You only have to live as if this one matters. When you listen to someone with patience, you give the universe a little more time. When you teach, create, or forgive, you adjust the focus of the hologram ever so slightly toward clarity. The galaxies will continue their silent rotation. Civilizations will rise and fade. But meaning, the one thing the cosmos cannot create for itself, will continue through you. So keep looking up. Keep asking questions. Keep treating the world as the rare, conscious fragment of eternity that it is. Because every time a human being chooses understanding over fear, the universe becomes a little more real. When the credits of a civilization roll, what will they say about us? That we discovered the secrets of the atom, the genome, the stars, and finally learned how to live with ourselves? Or that we mistook knowledge for wisdom and left the stage before the universe had finished its line? Every generation inherits a universe still half written. We fill in the margins with the choices we make in the small hours of ordinary days. A word of encouragement to a stranger, a question asked in a classroom, a scientist staying late to check one more calculation. These are the quiet edits that shape the next version of the hologram. If you want to know what the cosmos is becoming, don't look only through a telescope. Look at the way people treat one another when no one is watching. That too is physics energy exchanged, trajectories altered, entropy reversed for a heartbeat. The miracle of consciousness was never about being powerful, it was about being present. To stand in the flow of time and say, I see you, universe. I see what you are doing, and I will try to do it well. One day the sun will fade, the galaxies will drift apart, and even light itself will stretch into darkness. But until that distant evening arrives, awareness will continue to flicker in countless forms. Somewhere, something will still be noticing beauty, still be creating meaning, still be whispering across the void, I understand. Morning arrives. The sky brightens, the world stirs, and the infinite hides again inside the ordinary. You make coffee, open a window, answer a message. The cosmos is still there, folded into every movement, photons from the sun striking your skin, molecules of ancient starlight drifting in the air you breathe. Awareness doesn't require a telescope. It asks only that you notice. The same physics that governs galaxies also governs the steam rising from your cup, the rhythm of your pulse, the warmth of a voice on the other end of a call. You are never far from the stars. They are the quiet machinery behind everything you touch. The danger of cosmic perspective is forgetting that it begins right here. It isn't meant to lift us out of life, but to pull us deeper into it, to remind us that the ordinary is a frontier too. When you listen without judgment, when you repair something that's broken, when you choose patience over pride, you are practicing astronomy of the human heart. The universe is large enough for despair, but is also large enough for hope. Entropy will win eventually, yes. The galaxies will thin, the stars will cool. Yet, in the brief interval before that happens, life keeps inventing new ways to celebrate being here. A coral reef rebuilding after a storm, a child learning the word why, a stranger helping another to stand. These are the local victories of coherence over chaos. If you ever feel small, remember this. The atoms that make you once roamed as plasma near the speed of light, the reason they now move slowly enough to form you is that they cooled, they rested, they found balance. You are what the universe looks like when it finally learns to pause. So keep pausing, keep learning, keep living as if every heartbeat were a signal sent across the stars, a proof of concept for what awareness can do. And so it ends where it began. A question, a single thought flickering against the dark. Maybe the universe isn't asking us to solve it. Maybe it only wants to be seen clearly, gently, for as long as we're here to look. When you next step outside at night, let the silence reach you. Before the stars do, feel the weight of the air, the pull of the earth, the slow turning of the sky. In that moment, you and the cosmos are the same thing. Light learning how to notice itself. That is the truth behind the illusion. Not escape, not mystery, just awareness. And that awareness, quietly alive in you right now, is how the universe ends its story with understanding.